This is Pat Soundbites Unplugged. Unplugged. The podcast where all the artists go to tell it as it is. Careers, music, tours, and more. And here's your host, the man that refuses to eat squid, Pat Calamari.
Hey, Pat Calamari here, your host of Pat Soundbites Unplugged, episode number 56. Well, hopefully you're not sick. Hopefully you're staying home and lockdown and always practicing good hygiene and washing your hands, especially after touching any items or surface. Avoid touching your face. You know the drill. So, anyway, I wanted to take a different perspective. I'm always conducting interviews with the artists, especially now more than ever, dealing with the whole coronavirus, but I did not want to forget the heart and soul, the workers, the ones behind the scene for every artist and every band. And I'm talking the crew. And they got no work either. Like a lot of other people, there's just no work. With no live shows, there's nothing going on. They're sitting home, although I certainly still encourage my listeners and fans to go to a merch store and buy a t-shirt and buy a CD, buy an album, buy a drum head, whatever, to support the band. There's really not much you can do for the crew without, if they're really good friends of yours and you got a couple dollars to part with and you want to send some money to them, well, they're not going to turn it down. Anyway, I got to talk to, I arranged a chat with, again, as you know, if you've listened to me, one of my favorite bands is the guys from Collective Soul that I support and get to go to the shows and get to hang out with them and just love the music, love what they do, and certainly love the guys involved. And when you go to show, you start becoming familiar with who those core guys are behind the scenes. And I know Jim is the tour manager, but I know Vince Fraumeni. Vince is the assistant tour manager, and he's also the drum tech for Johnny. And I met Vince. He took me and a buddy backstage, a few years back, after the Collective Soul opened up for, I want to say, 3 Doors Down, and I was given Vince's number and text Vince when the show when they're off, and I did, and I met Vince on the side of the stage, and as directed, Vince took me backstage, and I met Will, because I did an interview with Will promoting this particular show. And I also play, obviously, Collective Soul tracks as well as Will's solo tracks from his album Serengeti Drivers. So that was my first real good connection with the band. And ever since then, I've been a good friend of Will's. And you could add Jesse and Johnny, and certainly I met Ed and Dean. So I'm familiar with the guys. And now every show I see Vince all the time, and I've actually, after one show, I play Keeping New Music Alive on the Radio Airways, as you know, and I am a big supporter of Billy Gibbons, and Billy has a few solo albums out, and his latest was the blues album, The Big Bad Blues, and he did a tour with Matt Sorum, former guitarist for Guns N' Roses, and a terrific left-handed guitar player, Austin Hanks. And they did a little tour around the country, probably no more than maybe 15 shows or so. And I reached out to Billy and went down to the Iridium in New York City and get my table, which was Billy's table. And who's there is Vince. Vince was conducting the meet and greets for folks and stuff like that. I'm like, didn't I just meet you at Collective Soul? So, yeah, small world. when you work hard and you network and your name gets out there and people are looking for work, they recommend certain people, and Vince is a good guy. Hard worker, going to school, trying to, meet his goals, and certainly wasn't to be on a tour with a group, and he explains how that all started. But super nice guy. I get to see him here and there every show. Always say hello, and I appreciate what he does, and certainly I appreciate what the crews do, because they're the heart and soul. They make the magic work. They drive to the shows. They do the load-ins. They, setting the stage, taking care of the lighting and the sound and the production, and techs for the instruments. He's Johnny's main drum tech. So I wanted to do a different perspective. So here's a really cool chat with Vince. I appreciated his time, and we pray and hope that this thing clears out so folks like Vince can go back to work, collect a check, and we get to see one of our good friends and one of my good friends in bands back on the road and doing what they love to do, and that's live performance. As I always say, live, love, and laugh a lot, because life is way too short. Here's my good friend, assistant tour manager, and drum tech of Collective Soul, Mr. Vince Fraumeni. WBXO Classic Rock Redefined in conjunction with Pat Sound Bites Unplugged. Well, we're taking a different approach today. As you know, I interview lots of artists and musicians of many great bands from all the genres. And as we are in a lockdown due to the coronavirus, and as for music fans, our favorite bands are home. And, well, obviously no live shows, and we feel bad. But we often forget about the crew members, those who work the long hours to make sure each and every live show goes on without any hiccups and issues. And I'm talking about the tour managers, assistant tour managers, the stage manager, the front of the house, the sound, the lighting folks, the production setup, the truck driver, the merch, the guitar tech, the drum tech, and probably others that I'm leaving out. So I thought it was important to speak with a guy I consider a friend, a guy I probably drive crazy every time a particular band comes in our area, that he's used to seeing my ugly mug and getting tickets and seeing the band after the show. And I'm talking about my buddy Vince, and I'm going to screw up your name again, Fraumeni, right, Vince? Fraumeni. And Vince is the assistant tour manager of Collective Soul and the drum tech. How are you doing, my man? And certainly thanks for your time today.
Absolutely, thanks for having me, Pat. I'm doing all right, hanging in there, all lockdown and everything. Not much work to do. I had no work to do, actually. Luckily for myself, I'm in school still, getting my master's, and I'm also an actor. So there's been little things here and there to keep me busy, so I'm not losing my mind. But yeah, it's definitely been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we think about the bands, and I'm just did a video last week going, when this thing really started to really confront us and there's no shows, I'm saying, go to the merch site. Now's the time. Buy a t-shirt, buy a CD, support your favorite bands if you can do that. I know money's tight. And then after I did the video, I go, well, what about Vince? What about everybody else that makes all this magic happen? So again, that's my mission today, just to get a chance to chat with a guy like yourself that's been in the business for a little bit, and what you're going through. Vince, how did this all get started with you? What drew you into the music industry? As you said, you're acting, you're going to school. Congratulations on that, and getting your master's degree. How did you get involved in the music industry of things?
So I in my undergrad we had a minor music and entertainment business minor that I got, and that led me to internship and then working with the Grammys in Atlanta. And my boss there, Michelle Kablinger, she's a great friend of Ed's, and I was bartending one night, and I was still in school, and she thought I'd already graduated, but she was like, I offered you, I recommended your name for this job with this band, and I'm like, okay, who is it? She's like, you'll just have to leave tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm still in classes, and I'm completely green. I have no idea how the day-to-day works on a tour and all that kind of stuff. She didn't, and then I was like, well, who's the band? And she was like, Collective Soul, and I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, I grew up listening to them, and I had just gotten their album, not their last album, but one before that, See What You Started, and I was listening on the way to work that day, so it was kind of crazy, and then I just called my parents, and I was like, what should I do? And they're like, you should absolutely go. But then luckily all my teachers switched all my classes to online so I could still finish school, and then yeah, it was kind of just a whirlwind within like 2 days, and the next thing I know, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio with the guys, and having no idea what to do, running around like, where can I help, what can I do? And so it just grew from there.
Well, that's A, great advice from mom and dad. B, great that your teachers were able to switch all your courses to online. So you go to Cleveland and you meet these guys. What's like the first question you ask? Like, where do I go? What goes on? How does this all work?
Yeah. So I didn't really, I'm more of like, I'll ask questions sometimes, but I'm more of like, watching, kind of seeing what's going on, see if anybody needs help. So I was just kind of like freelancing everywhere. Does anybody need anything? Anybody need this? Anybody need this? And then just trying to make myself busy all day, trying to make it my worth. Make it worth it for me to be out there. So yeah, I'm just like basically running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to figure out what to do. And then eventually, as the days go by, I see kind of how it works. I met the guys. All the guys were super cool. So luckily there was no problems there. It was just a good camp to get into, especially first starting out.
Yeah, and this is like a well-oiled machine, right? You get into this flow. It's all time-lined for the most part, right? The load-in, the sound check, the meal, the pre-show, the meet and greets, the load-out. And once you get into that routine, pretty much, I don't want to say it's easy by all means, but that's pretty much the process.
Yeah, definitely. The process becomes easier throughout. The more you get it nailed down. Of course, every show and every venue, there's a curveball. There's a wrench thrown in the plan. Like, we have to change this and change this because of the differences in venues. But for the most part, we have our schedule, and all of us work pretty well together as a team. So we have it pretty nailed down to getting in and out of each show every day seamlessly.
Yeah, no, it's without you guys, we take it. I mean, growing up and going to shows, I'm like, oh, this is great, but not knowing, until I actually started a conversation with you and meeting you. Was that the first tour that you were on? Was that the one with Three Doors Down?
No, I've been there since 2015, and then I've been, and then I think I met you too with I think you came out to Billy Gibbons' show, and I was with Ron and Billy Gibbons out there too.
Yes, yep, Halloween in New York City, yep, and I go, wait a minute, didn't I just see you, Vince? Yeah, absolutely. So are you able to go, like, when the Collector's Soul Show tour ends, and I think if I knew Ron was a manager of Collective Soul back in the day, are you able to go? Like, there's somebody like, it's all about networking. Says, hey, by the way, Vince, this guy's looking for somebody, or that guy's looking for somebody to keep, help pay the bills and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm able to do that because you're either on retainer or you're not, so you just work, get paid while you work, or if you're on retainer, then you basically stay with that band. But I took the one with Billy Gibbons because I thought it was a good opportunity and it was fun. It was great. But there are gigs when we're down and we're not touring that I could take, but I don't. Excuse me. I don't because I use that time to focus on my acting and stuff, other things, and I just keep around with the boys because I love the guys in Collective Soul, so I keep on with them because they were all like a family basically.
Oh, and they are a bunch of jokesters, and I've had the luxury, as you know, to hang out with Will and Jesse and Johnny. Those three are is a team and a half, and not to say Ed and Dean aren't, but I really haven't. I've had the opportunity to hang out with Ed, had some really good questions, and Dean, but Jesse and Johnny, it's a comedy show and a half. Jesse's scaring the crap out of Johnny and watching this stuff on Instagram. I mean, I'm almost peed on myself watching this stuff. So there's no doubt you're really in with a good, cool group of guys, and I'm sure that makes the job that much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it that much easier too because everybody's so laid back, and then at the end of the night or on our days off, we're still all hanging out together and doing stuff like that. I don't know how many of those scare videos I've recorded, like being the guy behind the phone scaring Johnny. Right? It's hilarious. We got all kinds of stuff. It's really fun.
That's awesome. What's the biggest misconception, Vince, about touring lifestyle? I had a buddy of mine. Well, he's still a buddy of mine. I got to meet. I met him at a NASCAR race. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody, and I was a big NASCAR guy going to racetracks, and I had season tickets in Virginia, and I stayed at a hotel with a whole NASCAR team, and I became really good friends with the transport driver. And I said, man, it's got to be cool. You're with a team. And he gave me the look like, yeah, but there's a lot more to it than, what everybody thinks it is. So what's the misconception? I mean, you're with a good band, you're with a good group of guys, but it takes away from your home life and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, there's a few misconceptions out there about, especially for the crew guys, because they're like, if your friends see you or whatever, the ones I get all the time is like, oh man, you're just out on tour with a rock band, drinking all the time and partying, that's getting paid. Like, that must be life. I mean, it's fun out there, but we're working our ass off all day. So it's, so that, they only see, people will only see, the party part, and they don't see the, or the end of, if you work a 12-hour shift anywhere, you want a beer after you get off. So it's really us unwinding, and a lot of people think that because that's what the only part they see, that they think it's just one big game and one big party. But also it's the bus rides can get a little. I mean, when you're stuck on a big Twinkie going down the road with 12 other guys for a couple months, just like anywhere else. You can agitate each other when you're sleeping on the bus all the time, but everybody's luckily pretty cool, so it never gets too bad. But just kind of being in a football locker room. I played football my whole life, and that's why I equate it to a lot like that.
Yeah, no, I like that. A big Twinkie going down the road and going, oh, here we go again. And all the jokes that are being played and who's cooking and who's not cooking and who's doing this and who's that. Vince, right, there are no sick days when you do things like this.
Right, absolutely.
You can't go, hey, Jim, I got a migraine. And he goes, that's good. Here's 2 Advil. Now work on getting the drums together, Vince, right? Pretty much.
Exactly. And that's the hard part sometimes. You know, people might get sick, they're working through sick, or they have stuff going on at home or something. So you got to be very good at dealing with handling other people, because you don't want to be insensitive. And then we're all out here doing the same thing, and it gets tough when you're gone for so long. So you gotta take that into account when you're talking to any of them. So.
Yeah, and the fact that you're missing, you know, birthdays and parties with your friends at home and other events that you normally would be home and hanging out. What has been your best pinch yourself moment so far with working with a band like Collective Soul or Billy Gibbons?
Wait, say that again?
What has been your best pinch yourself moment? Like, oh, wow, you know. Have you had one?
So I'm pretty good. It's like I'm a just everyone's a person kind of thing. So I think that's why I've gotten I get along so well with everyone that I've worked with, because even the band guys, because I'm not a guy that really, I appreciate their greatness, but I'm not here like praising them all day, and you know, like I'm not being a fanboy. So, but pinch myself moment was probably like I had to like really think about it for a second. I was we were in New York, and we had a day off, and I came down to get some lunch from the hotel we were at. And when we were out with Billy, it was a lot more separated than it is with the Collective Soul guys.
Yeah.
Because we all ride one bus. They're a little bit more separated. And he was Billy was just sitting at the bar by himself, and he invited me over. He's like, hey, come have a beer with me. And sat there and talked to Billy Gibbons for like half an hour to an hour having a beer. And it was just like, after I left, like I was in the moment, so I wasn't really like thinking about it then, but when I left, I was like, damn, I really just sat there and had beers one-on-one with Billy Gibbons, just shooting shit like it's nothing.
That is cool. That is cool. It's like, yeah, you know, you're not the fan. You see these guys and they're doing their job, man. They're working. Yeah, I've had the pleasure to hang out with Billy for almost an hour after his show in Foxwoods, and we talked about, you know, family and MTV and everything about music, and just such a great, what a great guy talking about a lot of things. Do you play an instrument? You're the drum tech for Johnny. Did you always play the drums, or you learned it, or?
So that's another funny story. So I basically, like, as far as like instruments in a rock band, basically I played everything but the drums. So it was we lost a guy in the middle of the Goo Goo Dolls tour that was doing the drum teching, and we had to at this time I was trying to do more of anything, because I like, let me do more. Also, you do more, you get paid more. So
yeah.
So once that guy was gone, he had to Johnny Rabbit back to having to take his own drums, set them up, and take them down after the show. And I'm like, oh man, like this kind of sucks, because you shouldn't have to do that. Like, so I was like, right after I went up to him, I was like, yo, I'll shadow you for a couple days. Show me how to break this stuff down and do it. And in a couple days, I'll have it down, and then you don't have to do it anymore. And Johnny Rabb was like, really? Are you sure? I was like, yeah, I promise. Just, I can figure it out fast. I can learn fast. So really, it was a couple shows. I just followed him. He showed me everything. We got it dialed in. And then since then I took over it. And then our LD Bobby helped now too when he came along. So we kind of tag team it, but a lot of time, like changing drum heads, doing all that, and fixing stuff, I've learned through the process. And, I do all that now. But yeah, it was funny because I tell people, I'm like, drums were like the only instrument I didn't really play. And I ended up being a drum tech, so.
That is pretty cool, and I can see, John. Yeah, I mean, the guy just played his ass off, and everybody, he waits till the theater empties, or pretty much, and now he's got to take down his own drums. Like, crap, man! While everybody else is like sitting on the couch, having a beer, relaxing, changing, take a shower, calling their families on Facebook or whatever, and this poor guy's got to take away. And he's such a good guy too. I mean, he's a terrific guy. What's if you could share? What's the worst thing you have done over the years, like learning your job and trade?
The worst thing?
Yeah, anything that you like that you said, "Oh crap! What the hell did I do?" If there was one, maybe there wasn't. That maybe affected a show or something, or didn't put the cymbals on right, or I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't think anything I've done has like affected the show.
Okay.
Per se. I mean, really, I can't like.
That's all right.
I can't think of anything that was like. I mean, I probably did something wrong here and there, like little things, but nothing.
Nothing crazy.
Like, yeah, nothing crazy. Like just probably through the process of learning. But usually, when I do the joint, Johnny always comes and double checks everything. So, yeah, and I don't mess with anything else out. On stage, yeah.
Now you guys are, and I've seen you now probably 4 or 5 times at the Collective Souls and the ones with Billy, and it's like, again, an oiled machine. Everybody's out there. I mean, you could only, they know what they got to do. They get it out there in time. So by 8 o'clock, the lights come on, and it's a done deal. So the ultimate goal for yourself, obviously, is to complete your master's degree and try to continue in the acting career. I mean, they're doing their job, and you're just a part of it. But your job is to make it in Hollywood or anywhere.
Yeah, that's my main gig. I have my agent out here in Atlanta. So my main gig is acting. It's a process, but the band stuff pays the band stuff, and I still bartend on the side over at the Atlanta Braves Stadium. So that pays the bills in between acting gigs and in between until I get bigger ones. So.
Before I let you go, Vince, and this is great. I'm happy I've had this chat. I learned a lot. What advice would you have for somebody wanting to follow in your footsteps and getting involved with a band? Everybody thinks it's easy, but what advice would you give?
I would say you can be a fan, but don't show it. Don't over fanboy. That's gonna hurt. Band guys don't like that. Also, just work hard. Like always, be able to take direction, because you can be the hardest worker, but if you act, there's always something you can learn, no matter how long you've been in the business. So don't be that guy who's like, I know everything. And because if you're the I know everything guy already, nobody's going to want to hire you, because then if something happens, then they're going to know you're just going to give them a hard time.
Yeah, nobody.
So
nobody. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vince.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. So yeah, just be willing to take direction, and you got to be a cool guy, because you got to be able to get along with people, because you're going to be riding on a bus with people for months at a time sometimes, and sometimes it's more about the personality fit than it is about the skill set, because you got to live with this person. So you could be the best LD or the best drum tech in the world, but if it's hard to get along with you, nobody's going to want you around. So that would probably be my take.
And your reputation goes far, right? Because if you didn't just get the gig by Billy Gibbons, it just happened. Timing is everything. Your reputation. You're a hard worker. You learned. You get it. It's about personalities. You know where to draw the line. As you said, yeah, you're a fan, but they're just doing their job. And you have a job to do. That's part of the process. So it is a different world. So anything that we can do, I mean, besides sending you a check with a ton of money to your address in Atlanta, as fans and music listeners, is there, the bands, I tell the fans to go to the merch store to support them. Is there anything for the crew guys? It's up to the band guys to say, hey, let's take care of our crew family.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any. I haven't looked into it much. Obviously, it's just been basically unemployment and stuff like that in the downtime. But I haven't seen, I know in the bar industry there's a lot of places to do donation stuff. But I haven't seen for crew or crew of bands or anything. If there's, I'm sure there's foundations for that too. I don't know. Some have to do some research in, but yeah, it's. I mean, I appreciate you doing this because a lot of people don't realize how many people are working to put these things together. So,
and I listed off a list of titles, but how many you mentioned the number 12. Is that what it takes? A lot of people are doing double or triple duty. It's not, you're not probably up to the Def Leppard production with the hundreds, but for Collective Soul, there's probably 12 guys or girls doing a lot of double duties and backing each other up to make sure the show goes on okay.
Yeah, so we don't have we probably kind of have a skeleton crew for what we do. We don't have a lot of people, but there's some bands have a whole bus dedicated to life, have a whole bus dedicated to sound. So they'll be rolling around with 5 or 6 buses and have multiple crew members. So we keep it tight. We do a lot for the show we put on because we have really just 5 of us, I think. Yeah. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us that are basically do everything.
And I've seen at shows like John, I think maybe some of the venues might have their own folks to help out. I see John tell the guy where to tape the set list or where to tape the rug down. They some of the venues have some help that you guys can tap off of.
So yeah, absolutely. Every venue has house crew, and so they they're just like us. They're out of work too. So it's really just. Most people start there and working in a venue as a house crew, as part of a house crew. So a lot of our guys too have house gigs back at home where they work at a venue close to home. But it's we do have those at every show. And them just like us, they're out of work too. I mean, it's a stop to everything. And these are the hourly and the paid by day jobs or whatever. The self, you're working for yourself. I'm trying to remember what that 1099 employees and stuff like that. Everybody's grinding through this just like us, so it's it's definitely something to be aware of.
Yeah, no, I noticed those guys. And some, I've seen you guys around in different gigs here and there, so different venues. So I noticed that, and I'm sure it's a resume builder. You got to start somewhere. So you start. Probably the best advice is go to your local venue, work as a gig person, and see how that goes. If you like doing that, and get your name out there, and network with the bands and network with the folks like Vince. Before I let you go, Vince, what's the favorite? What would you say is the favorite venue that you have been to? Is it Red Rocks? Is it Madison Square Garden? Is it, where have you been that you worked on stage and set up that you said, wow, this is really cool?
It is, what is the name of that place? It is, I'm trying to remember the name of that place. It is in Guilford, Connecticut, though, 100%. And anybody who's played that place.
Oh, Guilford, New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, Guilford, New Hampshire.
Is that the
Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion? That's what it is. That place is phenomenal. It is like a park in the backstage area. It was like a damn wonderland back there.
That's funny. I've seen that. I know exactly what you said, Guilford. I knew New Hampshire. You're absolutely right. I've seen bands videotape of them playing games, and they got more stuff for the bands and crews to do. You never know that existed back there. That's pretty cool.
Right. And it's like the food's great. It's like a full raw bar, seafood and everything. It's like the best meal we have on tour. And then they got a pool back there now. They have a basketball court. They have all kinds of stuff. You can take bikes and stuff and ride them down to the lake and go fishing, which is right on the corner. Johnny Rad's done that a lot. Literally everything. It's pretty awesome.
So the key is to set up as quick as you can to try to enjoy some of this, because it's not like you just go, okay, let's go fishing, when you got to still set up the production side of it. I get you. All right, so if I learned anything, I got to go to a Collective Soul show in Guilford, New Hampshire. It's not too far of a ride for me. I'll go.
It's an interesting place, right? It's in the middle of nowhere, but it's pretty awesome.
Well, Vince, I can't thank you enough for your time. I thank you for putting up with me and taking care of me and everything that you do. I'm happy we started a little friendship. We recognize each other. I'm an easy name to remember, and I'm gonna probably screw up your name again. But I love them guys. I play all their tracks. They roll the dice, and we always have a good time. And I can't wait to see you guys. Hopefully this resolves soon so you can get back to normal and get on the road and do what you love to do. And the best of luck with your master's degree and your acting. I sincerely mean that. I hope things work for the best of you.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Pat.
My man Vince, assistant tour manager, and now great drum tech of Collective Soul. Right here at WBXO, we are classic rock, and we are redefined in conjunction with Pat Soundbites Unplugged.